Hello, I'm Emily.
I'm Amanda.
This is Two Moms.
One mic, but no mic today because we're moms. You know, we're on brand. We're allowed to forget things. And maybe you all noticed that there's someone sitting in between.
We have three moms today. The more the merrier.
And this is Amanda from Amanda's Hour.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for
So
coming.
excited to be your first guest.
I know, isn't
Yeah,
it?
our
Like,
first
you have like a
guest.
medal or something. You're so prepared.
Someone.
Next episode. We'll get swag, we promise. Like the social.
Here you go. You get a prize.
That'd be amazing.
Thanks for coming out.
Exactly. So yeah, thanks for coming. We
Thanks for
appreciate it. So for anyone who doesn't know who Amanda is, why don't you quickly introduce yourself?
So, my name's Amanda. I have two young daughters, and I'm married for now almost 10 years.
Very nice.
And I have my older daughter is autistic. So, this is my, opportunity to kind of share a little bit about my motherhood journey. How it's not really what I expected, but how it's still like really beautiful and meaningful. And I just kind of want to spread that.
I love that. I love
Amazing.
that. And I think this will definitely resonate with a lot of people. I know like on Instagram nowadays, you always see all these accounts. So I think it'd be really nice to hear from someone firsthand who's like local in our community.
Yeah.
So that's nice
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So do you want to start with sharing maybe like your pregnancy with your first daughter?
Yeah, I had a really normal pregnancy. Like there were no hiccups or blips. I had, maybe I was really nauseous. I mean, you guys had your pregnancy episode. I resonated with a lot of that.
Yeah.
Some stuff you didn't expect, but generally it was considered like a really safe and like normal, typical pregnancy. And I didn't really notice anything in terms of like flags that maybe something was happening until maybe about 18 months. So she had been meeting all of her milestones up until then.
So she was born, and for the first 18 months, like everything was good, right?
Yeah.
Meeting her milestones, okay.
Yeah. So I think when I really started noticing that maybe something was going on, that like late night Googling that happens when you're like, and I did breastfeed my daughter. So, late night Googling. And I think when it really kind of hit me was at 18 months, the words that she had already been saying, she lost those words. So all of a sudden she didn't know the name of things, or she wasn't calling me mama anymore. And like the development kind of like really slowed and actually reversed in a lot of cases when it came to her speech. So that was the
I
first
have a
thing.
quick question because I know this is going to trigger people by you saying 18 months and regression. When you hear that people link vaccines with autism,
Right.
what do you say? In your own personal opinion, you're not here to appease anyone else.
No,
you can have your own opinion based on your own
I want to
experience.
speak up too on this, but you go first.
Yeah, in my opinion, and it's very clear to me that it is a genetic neurological difference.
Okay.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with vaccines, and you could say maybe that's wishful thinking. Trust me, I've done a ton of research as well, but in my heart of hearts, it has nothing to do with anything that I or anyone else did, and it's just the way that her genes came together on the day that she was conceived. So that's my feeling on it.
I agree. I actually spoke to a naturopath about this. I asked him like, hey, do you think vaccines play a role in autism? And he said to me, he's like, Amanda, the children's vaccines have been around for like 100 years. They're one of the vaccines that have been around the longest. And he's like, they're really the safest ones out there.
Yeah.
So he said, like, there's no way. And then I also teach special education. And we did a few years ago a training, and they brought that up. And they said the person who did the study on relating autism to vaccines, the study was done on such a small consensus of kids that it wasn't even valid enough to be even releasing that information, because it wasn't done on a large enough number of children to make an accusation like that.
Yeah.
So I agree with you that I personally don't think it's related to vaccines.
And as far as like my motherhood journey, I'm much less concerned about why it happened or the cause of why it happened, and I'm much more concerned about the support and the she exists,
Yeah.
right? And
Oh,
then
I think that's so beautiful.
you know,
yeah.
like,
I
why
think
does
people
it
are
matter?
just so
Yeah.
caught up in the why me, why my child,
No.
why. But the fact that you're taking it as this is my deck of cards, let's play with them.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that is such like a beautiful way of
Yes.
thinking about it.
Yeah.
And she, you know what? Because I know your story already. Like, she's been like that since day one. Like, all right, this is my daughter. Let's go with it.
Yeah.
Let's do what we got to do.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I owe it to her to give her everything that she deserves in this world, like just like anyone else would for their kids, right?
Yeah.
If anyone in my same position, I think would do the same. You know, you want to just give them every opportunity. It doesn't matter why you're gonna lean in, right? Because you want them to have the best life possible.
I
Right?
agree.
Yeah. So now getting back, sorry for the little
Yeah.
segue, but I know it's gonna come up somewhere.
Yeah.
So now 18 months, you're noticing this change. Where do we go from here?
So that's when I started to research a little more, you know, talking to her pediatrician, you know, like she doesn't have all her words yet. And at that point, my pediatrician was like, well, doesn't look like there's any other signs right now, so let's wait.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I feel like that's such a major sign. Like,
it is, but I think I couldn't at the time articulate all the other things that I didn't know at the time would have been flags to me as well. Like, she never pointed, or, you know, when she would see something fun or interesting, she wouldn't bring it to me. She would just, like, really get into it herself.
Mm-hmm.
And being a first-time mom, I didn't know that, like, I'm following the milestones, but at the same time, I was like, I don't know, she does it sometimes. Like, so it wasn't this, like, very clear, like, black and white, which made it difficult.
I'll agree, because I know your daughter, like, I'll agree with you. I taught your daughter swimming lessons, and I can say, like, I didn't see anything. I really didn't.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I think after, basically after that, it was a wait and see, but I took it upon myself to just, you know, keep doing research and really starting to look at things that way and see if, you know, enough evidence kind of like presented itself that I should like take this further. So I think at 2 years old, when her speech hadn't developed like really any further, that's kind of when we got her into speech therapy.
Yeah.
With a, I'll say typical or like standard speech therapist who wasn't really versed in like autistic speech therapy. And after that, we began, you know, I think there were some events. Like my husband, I think at the time, like he was noticing these things as well, but I think I was further along in my like acceptance that like something is going on here.
Yeah.
And he was still like seeing those things, but I think he just needed in his gut like more evidence, like maybe to hear from an expert, you know, like just those final moments, those final words. So that's when we started taking things. We went to a pumpkin patch. So it was like October of 2022. And, you know, there's all these other families like around, like sitting, taking pictures with the pumpkins. The kids are like cutely like holding these pumpkins. Yeah. And my daughter was like sprinting around in circles. She could care less about the pumpkins. Yeah. And it was kind of like a really tough, like we couldn't even just get her to sit for a photo, right? And at the time I was like 3 months postpartum with my second daughter. So it was like a hectic time. Yeah. And I think we literally got home and we both kind of just like broke down and we both knew like that was, I knew in my gut, but that moment and watching my husband really kind of like it come to him as well. Like that was like our life quake moment. And if you've never heard of a life quake, maybe I'll just like quickly read the quote.
Go for it. I love the quote. I really do.
So I'm sure we've probably all had one, but a life quake. It's a significant, sudden, and unexpected shift in the trajectory of your life that initially feels devastating, but has the beneficial outcome of catalyzing personal growth, transformation, and rebirth. And I think that could not be more. I got shivers even just like reading it now again, and I read it so many times.
I love the quote. I really do.
Yeah, it really kind of describes, I think, that moment and like my motherhood journey, like in a nutshell.
Yeah. So you guys both realized together there's something we need to do, and what were your next steps now? Yeah, so I knew from that moment we had to get her a diagnosis because that's where all of the support, services, getting her, you know, we're in Ontario, Canada, so getting her onto the list for the Ontario Autism Program where you can
get funding and a whole bunch of other
Yeah.
resources. So we knew that in order to do that, we had to get her diagnosis. So we did. We took her to a psychiatric pediatrician. We drove all the way to Windsor to
Wow.
get that
I remember
because
this,
the
yeah.
wait list to get one in where we live was like almost 2 years. And
Yeah.
our pediatrician was like, I will fast forward this and send you to someone, but you've got to drive to Windsor. And we did that. So
Yeah.
basically like 3 days after Christmas in December 2022, we took our time. Yeah, we were
I
together
remember
for
this.
dinner.
I remember
And
this.
I had to leave the next morning to drive to Windsor to get her diagnosis. And we
Yeah.
got it. And the crazy thing, like I was so nervous for it. I don't know why at the time I was so nervous for it, but driving, like when he said it to us, like yes, she is autistic, level 3, non-speaking. And in that moment, I don't want to cry. I was almost.
I can't handle people crying.
No,
I feel like crying too.
I know.
It was. I hate to say it was validating. I felt relief because it was like, yes, Amanda, like everything you've been thinking since 18 months old and even a few, before that, like all of those things that I've been thinking and researching, it's like, yes, I was right. That I knew. So it kind of validated, like, I'm the expert on my daughter. Like, I'm the one that's going to have to support her and push her and know what she needs and, like, get to know her in a way that, like, no one else in this world is going to be able to know her. So that's, I really, I took it upon myself and, with my husband to, like, this is going to be our life's work. This is going to be my purpose, right? And I'm going to lean in because what other choice do I have,
I have goosebumps right now because I know how much you've done for your daughter, and I applaud you, and I say it to Amanda all the time, like, she's the most amazing mom because she took the bull by the horns. No, don't you look at my daughter. I'm gonna cry too. She honestly took the bull. I gotta get a box of tissues. She took the bull by the horns.
She stage is not set up properly for this.
She accepted what was in front of her, and she just, like, ran with it. You really did, and because I know that you've, like, and I'm jumping ahead of this topic, but I know how much you discovered on your own to help your daughter, and I'm sure you're going to talk about it, so I don't want to say it too much. And it's just, like, I really do applaud you for it because it's just amazing. And because I work in spec ed and I see it, and seeing parents like you that put so much care and support into their kid, like, I love you guys so much because, like, this is the individual in front of you, and you're accepting them, and you're doing what's best for this child, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not really speaking about your daughter. I'm going to speak about in general. Like, I see students who aren't reaching curriculum, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. If they don't get curriculum, there's something else for them, and they'll be successful in their own ways. Like, I truly believe that.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that they're still going to go out there and do amazing things. It's just going to be different.
Yeah. I try to, I think, probably something that has been the biggest surprise to me over and over and over. And I thought after like 2.5 years on this journey, like that it would change. But still, every time, like any experience, I'm always surprised by, like, the duality of, like, the emotion that I hold, like, with any individual experience. Like, as an example, like, being with friends, like, who also have children my age and seeing them, like, have a conversation with their mom or, I don't know.
Do you grieve or mourn the motherhood that you thought you were gonna have?
That's the perfect way to put it. I've lost people, who have passed away and grieved them, and this was equally as emotional, painful. It felt like grieving a death in a way because I'm grieving the life I thought I would have since I was, I've decided that I wanted to be a mom, right? So, and I think it's just because at the time I didn't know what I was in for. I didn't know what that life was going to look like. And I think the unknown was the scary part. But I think, what I've learned over time is that, it is a really beautiful journey. It's different, but it's still, like, meaningful. So, like, I guess the emotional part of it is that you can be, I'll be in a moment with, watching my friends' children like have a conversation, or they're hitting their milestones, and in that moment I feel joy because like, oh, that's such a sweet moment, like, oh, that's nice, and like, oh wow, that was a big word, like just joy for my friends who I love and for their children who I love. But at the same moment, like also holding like room for myself to feel a little bit of pain there, like, oh, like I wish I could have that experience like right in this moment. I'm not saying that we don't know. She does have words here and there, but like her communication is not as she's very careful about who she speaks to, and it's she does it in her own way. So knowing her my whole life, her whole life, I've gotten to know what she's trying to say in the way that she's saying it. So she doesn't communicate in typical or standard ways, right?
Does she have core words? Does she use that?
What do you mean by that?
It's the PICs for communication. Does she have communication devices?
Yeah, she does. She has an AAC device. So she's got an iPad that has a program that she uses to sometimes communicate. Her biggest form of communication is actually through scripting. So she has a special interest. It's Peppa Pig.
All right.
And she's been watching it since she was little.
Yes. I know she loves Peppa Pig.
Yeah, and she actually communicates through a script. So if there's an episode, let's say she wants a piece of toast, she'll emulate in the exact. By the way,
the accent too.
Yeah. By the way, she has perfect pitch. Actually, she'll repeat the sentence. Mummy, can I have toast, please? Like she does it in it's the sweetest. Like we've never lived in England, none of us are English. Like I don't know how, but she like took it upon herself to say, okay, I need to tell my mom that I want toast, but I don't know how to tell it. So she'll tell me the script exactly from the episode. So it doesn't always line up, but I know her enough, and I've watched enough Peppa Pig to know like what's going on in the episode and like what she's trying to say, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of like her main source, her main communication style. And that for anyone whose child maybe does that as well and is watching or listening to this, that is called Gestalt language processing, and it's a form of echolalia. So if you look at any of the online like autistic speech therapists, they're very well versed in this, and it's a very standard, it's the very common way that autistic children communicate.
Yeah, I know. I've seen kids like repeat commercials and repeat TV shows from my past of teaching swimming lessons. Actually, be like with the city.
Oh yeah,
and having a few students like that.
Yeah, something like 80% of autistic children like use echolalia or are Gestalt language processors. Yeah,
that's so interesting.
Yeah. And it's just a different way of learning language, right?
Yeah.
So it comes in different waves, and it's up and down, and but we're really proud of like the process. The progress that she's made over the last 2 years. She's come a really long way,
and she is in school now, right?
Yeah, she's in junior kindergarten. Yeah.
And how is that going?
So she's I was about to say lucky, but like it's not luck. Like I worked really hard to get her into this program. She's in a community classroom actually. Okay. So it's her and like 5 other autistic children with like a teacher and 2
there's 2 EAs?
2 EAs.
Wow. Educational workers are EAs. Yeah.
She's in like a state-of-the-art classroom.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And she gets to, I remember you telling me she does that throughout her whole academic career, right? Her whole education.
Yeah, like the goal is always to integrate her eventually into with her peers in the standard like classroom when she's ready. But I think in the meantime and there are a few students in there who have been in that for a couple of years. There's even one who's like ready to graduate next year into
that's so nice.
So that's always the goal, but in the meantime she's getting like an unprecedented amount of like support and focus, which
I'm like so happy for her. I really am. I'm happy she has all that support.
Yeah. And that's on top of she's had ABA therapy for 2.5 years now, 2 years now. Like I said, she does speech therapy every week. She does occupational therapy every week. And these
are all things that you do on your own and even outside of pocket, right? Because these services are not cheap. I know that.
No, exactly. We do both. My husband and I have, benefits that cover a portion of it.
Mm-hmm.
But and we've been waiting on that like Ontario Autism Program list for funding since the day I registered her 2
And
years
that's,
ago.
yeah, 2 years. And
Yeah, and we haven't gotten the call yet. So,
and I'm going to speak a little bit on my disappointment with like our government and how slow they are in supporting our most vulnerable children. I just need to put that out there because it angers me beyond words. I'm like getting passionate about it as I speak. But yeah, no, they need to do better, our government, for sure.
Yeah. I would say that like just being enrolled in the program, we do have had free services come our way, like parent coaching.
Mm-hmm.
I've probably at this point been in like probably 60 to 75 like individual coaching sessions on basically how to engage and play and teach my daughter the skills that of self-regulation, of play, of everything, of social interaction. Like these are the things that and speech as well, right? So you're almost becoming I don't want to take it lightly because therapists go through a lot of schooling to do what they do. You're learning a lot of the methods that these people are doing with your children, right? So my husband and I both have done those sessions, and we're, then they coach you, and then you spend your evenings and weekends doing that with your child, right? Yeah. So it's a lot to take on, like personally as well, like your time commitment of supporting your child. But,
and you've committed a lot of time in supporting your child. Like, I know that about you, and I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you as a mother. I'm proud of you. Again, I said it. You took the bull by the horns, and you just started running. Like,
so you mentioned your husband.
Yes.
Let's talk about your relationship for a little bit, because there are statistics out there that often say, when a couple has a special needs or high needs child, that marriage can fail. The husband checks out. Like, unfortunately, they're not good numbers.
Yeah.
So where are you guys at? You said you've been married for 10 years?
Almost
10 years. Yeah. So obviously you're still together, which is great.
Yeah.
But how did this whole process, take a toll or a strain or anything, if that?
Yeah, I think we decided like really early on that this would not break us. We really made a pact and promised to each other that this would bring us together and not tear us apart. So, I mean, we decided, although our daughter like really does come at the forefront of our family, we said at the end of the day, the two of us are still going to be the most important piece of this, because her success depends on, it specifically, I think depends on, it depends on us. So we've done our absolute best. I think we've both grown a lot. We've gotten more vulnerable, more open, really kind of thought about our own, past experiences, shared the trauma that each other, and I think also we're really supportive of if one of us is having a bad day, like it happens, and as much as I think we were scared to, like, let's say I was having like a tough day, really thinking about my daughter and the challenges that she has to overcome. Sometimes, we would try to keep it in because we also didn't want the other person to kind of get into a funk. But at the end of the day, we realized the other person is also always thinking about it. So sometimes it's just better to just hey, I'm really thinking about this today. Just to validate that we're both always thinking about it. And we made a point every night, and we've done it every night for the past 2 years. We put the kids to bed and we talk about all the great stuff that both of our kids did that night. What was great? Oh, she did this today. She said this. She opened her own yogurt lid, and she did the things. She put her shoes on today. And these are things that even though it's so
nice. Oh my
end of the day, gratitude.
Just looking at the life as the cup half full. Let's focus on the positive. I love that. I love it so much.
Yeah.
So, sorry, how old is your second child?
She's 2.5 now. They're almost exactly 2 years apart.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you find she is, A, with your oldest, and B, in, I guess, the structure? Because now, at 2, you pretty much, have awareness. I know my second child, he's an animal. He's crazy.
Yeah.
And they always say, the second child is whatever. So, because now you're going to have, terrible twos or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And then you also have like this child that needs a little bit more attention. Like, how do you find juggling that and I guess managing like these two different personalities and needs and that type of thing?
Yeah. I could cry also thinking about this because I worry very often that like having a special needs child, I worry about my second daughter, like maybe not getting the attention that she deserves, or like mommy's like the my full attention and everything she deserves from her mom, right?
Yeah.
So she's she's doesn't understand fully, but she can see and does know that like her sister doesn't speak as as like maybe her cousins or her friends at school does.
Yeah.
She knows that my older daughter doesn't play in the same way that she does, and she really does her best, and like through also following our lead, like how to play with her, right? So she's developing her play style too, and she's trying her best to like integrate with my older daughter and joining in her play. So it's a little twinge, like it can be a little sad, like when like my younger one is trying to engage my older one. My older one's like, get out of here, like I want nothing to do with you. I want to play with my toys.
Like I have two boys, and sometimes I feel bad if I give one more attention to the other. So I can't like imagine being in a situation where one just actually just needs the more attention. Yes. It's not just you trying to like you're just juggling a normal situation and then amplify it a little bit too. So like I struggle in my situation that I can't. Like that's why I asked, right? Like if anyone else is like in this situation where they have maybe multiple children, or one does have higher needs than the other, like that I feel like is its own challenge, right? Like
I worry too. Like it's not her job to be her sister's caretaker. Like she, although naturally she is starting, not becoming that, but she's very aware of her sister's needs. So like she'll help her to open something or to get something. And, at 2.5, like to have that kind of awareness, I think is really, oh man, beautiful. It is, because she just loves her sister so much and wants to find any way to engage and support her, right? Because she sees how much we try to do that. And
I know I'm gonna start crying too.
No, because children are so beautiful and innocent, right? And
yeah, they are.
She just loves her sister and just wants to help her. Like she doesn't think that there's she just wants to be part of life with her. It's really sweet.
It's like
really,
Anna and
really
Elsa.
sweet.
Do you want to build a snowman? It really is. Like why aren't you coming out to play with me?
Yeah,
but like it's your youngest one is Anna from Frozen. I'm sorry, I'm gonna go with this because she's gonna be like a warrior, and like she's gonna have that personality where she always advocates. She's gonna be a CEO. You watch. She's gonna go places because from such a small age she took that on too with you and your husband, and she's supporting her sister, and it's so nice. It's like your family's like a superhero family. Just like we got this, and we're gonna do this for our main character of our show and support her. And I love it all. I do.
We operate as a unit.
Tissues, but
we don't go anywhere. We
need like a intermission music now.
Like tear wiping. Like our mascara today. Thank you. But like my husband and I decided like really early on that knowing that her sister does get so much of our attention, we would never ever want to dull the shine of our younger one.
Sure.
She's like princess through and through, wants to wear her crown. I want a tutu and I want a dress and I'm going to dance around. Like she's like loud and talkative, and we let her be that because she also deserves to be the spotlight, right? So sometimes we're like shaking our head and she goes to bed in that tutu and then wants to wear it to daycare and it's got like ketchup on it. I'm like, please let me wash it. No. So like we let her be, the strong personality that she is, because we know that it's a great quality to have, especially, I'm sure she's going to advocate for her sister when she's older, right? And that's a blessing. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Thanks.
I love that.
Do you want to share your Instagram page and why you started it and how that came about?
Yeah, so I think, in the last couple of years, obviously the majority of my time, energy and both my husband and I's time, energy has gone into like obviously supporting our daughter and really staying focused on each other. So that's been like really important to us. And I think in the last maybe like 5 or 6 months, as things have really kind of like calmed down, like we're in a really good routine, I realized that like in the last couple of years, I really have put my own like needs on the back burner, right? And I think as far as like, I'm still taking care of myself, but I mean in terms of like getting back to the things that also I love to do, because so much time commitment has gone to all these other things,
But we just spoke about
Yes.
this. We were like, we forget what does bring you joy, what interests you, what things do you do for yourself. Totally. And that's why I love your platform, because you're telling people, hey, just carve out an hour for yourself. These are things I enjoy. What are things you enjoy? And you're opening that conversation and reminding people you still exist as a person, so do something for yourself.
Yes, exactly. I personally, I've always been really creative. Growing up, and I've done scrapbooking and painting and drawing, and I've done so much of that, but I never explored that as a career or anything. Yeah. And it's something I just enjoy doing. So I think carving out time, it can be a little messy and you need supplies. So I just have made sure to make my art and my creative pursuits like really accessible at home. I like set up a whole area with all my stuff, and I really try to make time for myself to engage in those activities, because it's calming. It gets me back to my roots a little bit, kind of lets me not escape, but like just be in my own head. Because like half the time as a mom, I mean, I'm sure any mom would resonate with this. You don't even have time to think. Like, they're just all over you. You can't even be in your own thoughts for a second because they're just mama, like,
Yeah.
So it's like my time to like reconnect with myself again. Like, how am I feeling? Is there anything I need? Like, expressing whatever I need to express, right? So it's been really great. And then I thought, man, there must be other moms, regardless if you have a autistic or special needs child or not, who probably like have lost that part of themselves in a lot of ways.
I would definitely say
right?
More moms than none really are just, they lose themselves through motherhood and life in general. That they need to come back to something that makes them feel like themselves.
Yeah. So that's the purpose of my page, is just to kind of share, like, and not to worry about being like perfect at it. Like, I started a painting like 5 months ago on the page. I'm still not finished, but like it doesn't matter though, right? Because it's not about like creating like these perfect things. It's just about carving out time for yourself to like express whatever that is that you need to. And I'll finish it eventually, right? But I think it's also a really vulnerable piece of myself that I'm showing. Like, I've always been really, really like a perfectionist. I really had to get good grades growing up, and like I really kind of like put a lot of value into that. And I think sometimes like showing like the imperfect or like unfinished parts of you can be like kind of scary and scary. So it's also a little bit of a love letter to myself to be able to like look, like it's not finished, but like I'm so proud of it, you know. And
no, for sure. Like even you coming on here, and even recently on your page, you shared like a lot of vulnerability, and like I'm so proud of you, because I know how scary it is to put yourself in such a public platform, like a social media platform, so public, like everyone sees what you're saying, and it's a scary thing to do, to put everything about yourself out there and how you're feeling. And I'm sure I saw like so many comments, but a lot of people relate to it too. Like you realize you're not alone, and that's something I always say about motherhood in general, is we have all these thoughts and we think we're the only one that have these thoughts. But when we start talking to other moms, we realize they feel the same way.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, I was also looking for community, right? People who get it. People who get it.
Yeah.
You can be very isolating.
I feel like that's just motherhood as a whole.
Yeah.
So I think, it's about a village, it's about a community, it's about reaching out. So what would be your, I guess, final thoughts? If someone was thinking that their child might be on the spectrum, or maybe just got a diagnosis, what's the one message you'd want them to know or to take away from this podcast today, or just in general, what would be your advice, your
Yeah.
coup d'etat?
Yeah. Let your child take the lead and lean in. They will show you exactly what they need, what they want. You just have to put your own ego aside and let them show you.
That was good advice. I got goosebumps.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
That's really good advice. Because you're right. You're right. The child's in charge.
I think so many people are just so used to controlling everything
Mm-hmm.
that they want to control that as well. But no, you're right. You're right. If you follow them, and then you could, I think, better help them.
And that goes for whether that be like following their special interest and like leaning into that. She loves Peppa Pig, so therapy revolves around the Peppa Pig characters and like engaging her in that way.
Absolutely.
It also, is as far as like when is therapy too much therapy, like she went to school and we realized she was super tired. She was doing it 3 times a week after school. And we said, okay, we need to cut this back because she was telling us, I'm too tired to do this, right? So, and we've pulled back, and her skills have blossomed because she's not exhausted, right? So just follow their lead. They're going to tell you exactly what they need. They're going to tell you.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I think this
Aww.
this is what's gonna make us go viral, people. This is it. This is the hard hitting stuff.
This was a good episode. Honestly, we're so happy to have you here, and thank you so much for sharing this. And like, I hope other moms who might be in the same boat, or even if you're not, I hope you watch this and
I think there's a lot to take away from this, regardless of where your child's at. Relationship wise, you raise some beautiful things, even just how to maintain your marriage. I love that.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot to take away from this conversation. I was glad that we got to do it.
Thanks so much for having me, and thanks for having the platform for moms like me to also share. It's really important.
For sure.
All right. See you next time.
Bye.
Adios.